as you rewind to 2020, was the last time they made the playoffs. But it had been a long wait to get back to the playoffs for Browns fans as they beat the Jets 37-20. Joe Flacco, 309 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. The Jets had gone 33 straight games without allowing a 300-yard passer. That streak is snapped. Joe Flacco improves to 4-1 since becoming the starter in Cleveland. 1,600-plus yards, 13 touchdowns since Week 13. That's the most in that span. They scored 5 times in this game. The Cleveland Browns are postseason bound. All right, back here with former Louisiana running back Emory Hunt and 2-time Super Bowl champ Bryant McFadden. And Emory, Joe Flacco was on the couch a month ago. Now he's in the playoffs with the Cleveland Browns. Browns fans chanting his name, Flacco, Flacco. Can you believe this is happening right now? And look, this is a guy that won a Super Bowl with the Ravens, and Browns fans are chanting his name after what he has done over the last month.
Winning cures all, right? No one cares about what he did with Baltimore because he's winning with the Browns. And all he did was just change the price for every other aging quarterback. Yesterday's price ain't today's price. This is a guy that you said came off the couch and has now led a team to the playoffs. A team that has gone through so many different injuries across the offensive line, in the backfield, at receiver, and he has done a great job in leading this team to where they're going to go in the postseason. So kudos to Flacco. Kudos to those guys that are over 38 years old because he's doing a great job playing the quarterback position.
B-Mac, how do you explain this? I mean, how do you begin to explain this? He's about to be 39 years old next month. He's on his couch on a lazy boy watching games, and he has gone 4-1 since taking over as a starter.
Well, I think he just utilized the experience that he's had throughout his professional career. And yes, you're correct, Hakeem. Even though he was on the couch, he was still throwing. He was still keeping his arm warmed up just in case a team decides to call him. He kind of went through the same situation a year ago, and of course the Jets gave him an opportunity, and he showcased some skill sets then. But this is a guy that just took advantage of the opportunity, and he still has a lot of fire left in his chamber, and he's displaying that. And one thing that I love about what I'm watching with Joe Flacco, outside of the obvious, throwing touchdowns and throwing big-time plays, just the emotions he's displaying on the sideline. I love seeing quarterbacks be involved in the game. When they returned that touchdown defensively, you saw him just yelling, getting riled up, getting fired up with the guys, and that does something to the morale of the team. That does something when it comes to adding energy and juice to the team. Right there, just in that picture alone, you're seeing an animated Joe Flacco. I love seeing that, and that tells me this guy is heavily invested in the Cleveland Browns. He's heavily invested in this opportunity, and he's trying to make sure he cashes in every said opportunity that's given to him and the Cleveland Browns, and so far, he's been able to do so.
You want to talk about what this Browns team has done? Amari Cooper was out on this night because of a heel injury. Elijah Moore gets knocked out of this game because of a head injury. They're banged up in a bunch of places. B-Mac, what does it say about the job that Kevin Stefanski has done with his roster, being able to find a way to win?
This is the best coaching job that I've seen the entire season. I think it's safe to say Kevin Stefanski should be the coach of the year. And remember, Hakeem, you know this better than all of us being a Browns fan. There were some concerns about Kevin Stefanski. Will he remain the head coach, not next season, but this season? Will the seat get hot? But when you talk about all the adversity this team had to face, you talked about not having Amari Cooper in this ball game. You talked about losing Elijah Moore in this ball game. But think about everything they went through this year. Yes, they lost Deshaun Watson. Yes, they lost Nick Chubb, but don't forget about their left tackle and Jedrick Wills as well. They haven't missed a beat. They have found ways to insert different guys into the lineups, and yet and still those guys are well coached, and they take advantage of the opportunity. And because of that, they're currently in the playoffs. And I'll tell you this much, even with Joe Flacco, even with a backup quarterback, backup running back, backup left tackle, whoever, you do not want to face this team because they believe they have a lot of confidence and they don't care if they're playing at home or on the road. They believe they have more than a fighting chance to win ball games. They've been able to prove that. And like I said, kudos to Kevin Stefanski and his staff, man, because usually when you lose your starting quarterback, you lose your backup quarterback, the season is pretty much over. When you lose your left tackle, your running back, it's hard to win ball games. They found ways to win.
Kevin Stefanski is the first Browns coach with multiple 11-win seasons since Paul Brown, who the team is named after. Like, that says it right there. You heard what B-Mac said, the coaching job, to be able to coach guys up who are in backup roles, who are coming off of the sideline, not used to being in positions to win, and he's doing a heck of a job. B-Mac says Coach of the Year candidate.
Yeah, and listen, coming into this game, I was all over Sean McVay being Coach of the Year because of the young team.
Well-deserved.
He's coaching out there in Los Angeles. But let's hold the phone a little bit because B-Mac laid it out perfectly. You think about Kevin Stefanski. Not only are you coaching a lot of reserves, but the fact you could have any excuse to say, oh, man, we got all these injuries. We're dealing with this. We got a backup quarterback. We're on our fourth quarterback. We're on our fifth combination of offensive line. We're on our third-string running back combination. We had to bring back a guy, and Kareem Hunt, on this team that was out there in free agency. We brought him back. He has all the opportunity to make an excuse to why they wouldn't have been successful or had a losing streak going into this, into this season the rest of the way. But he didn't. And they started off fast against a team that they should have dominated, in which they did in the New York Jets. So not only is he galvanized the team, but he's coaching what's out there on the field. You also have to give a huge shout out to Andrew Berry for putting this team together, because depth is everything in the NFL. We're here in week 17, and they're on their fourth and fifth string guys, and they're out there dominating games. So yes, Kevin Stefanski, in my opinion, definitely deserves to be Coach of the Year for what he has done in totality with the Cleveland Browns.
Deshaun Watson, P.J. Walker, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and now Joe Flacco. Browns are the first team ever to make the playoffs with 4 quarterbacks making multiple starts. First team ever.
All won games. Watson was 5-1. P.J. Walker got him a win. Dorian Thompson-Robinson got him a win. And Flacco has just led them to the playoffs.
He's making, by the way, $75,000 per win on top of his contract. So he's motivated. I'm not saying he's motivated by the money, but extra little incentive is helpful. What he's motivated by the fact is he's trying to resuscitate a career that we thought was over, because he thought he might go play for the Jets. He thought that when Aaron Rodgers went down in week 1, he thought, oh, the Jets will probably come a-calling. Robert Saleh said, no, we didn't want to make that decision. And here he is playing for the Cleveland Browns, and they're shouting his name. Like, this is like folk hero stuff, B-Mac. I mean, this is, you played in the AFC North. You know how ruthless fan bases can be. And Joe Flacco has done really the unthinkable.
No question. Yes, I know how ruthless fan bases can be in the AFC North, and I also know how appreciative those said fan bases could be as well. And based on what Joe Flacco has done, guys, regardless of what happens in the playoffs, he would never have to buy a beer in Cleveland ever again. Ever again. I mean, this guy will go down in Cleveland Browns history as one of the more unexpected quarterbacks, but reliable quarterbacks that took advantage of the opportunities, and they would never forget Joe Flacco for what he's done and what he's currently doing for this organization. When you talk about Hakeem, you being a resident Cleveland Browns fan, you have a soft spot that would never go hard in your heart for Joe Flacco, just watching what he's been doing. And he's continuing to add to his resume, his story here currently with the Cleveland Browns. And you can say whatever you want to say about the Browns being inconsistent when you talk about winning ball games. Their fan base, they have a solid foundation when it comes to fans and just how involved they are in their organization. So yes, Joe Flacco, his family, they won't want for anything ever again in Cleveland based on what he's doing.
Well, and he's spreading the football around, right? And he's had to because of injuries. Look at David Njoku on this night. In the past 3 games, had 4 touchdowns in the past 3 games. But on this night, 6 catches for 134 yards. That first drive, he had multiple 30-yard receptions to set up the touchdown for Jerome Ford. How are they using him in a way that is able to exploit a defense? Because over the last month, he has really come on strong for the Cleveland Browns.
I think people underestimate how big of a body he is. So when you walk him out just a little bit detached from the line of scrimmage, he's able to operate in space, and he's able to play post-up basketball out there on the field by shielding himself between the defender and the football. And we saw that tonight in how he was able to make those plays after the catch. And since the last month has started, he has been outstanding catching the football. But I want to say this, like all that Joe Flacco love, and here's a true story. And this is the petty stuff that's coming out, right? All he has done is made the smoke, the temperature hot in New York. Because if Aaron Rodgers comes back next year and they don't go at least 11-5 and go to the playoffs at his age, then all hell will break loose in New York. But yeah, Flacco has been outstanding, and Njoku has been a direct beneficiary of Flacco finding him. They're walking him out. They're finding ideal matchups. Not a lot of safeties can match up against him, and he's just been paying dividends time and time again. I mean, he had the Amari Cooper game today, and we expected someone else to step up. We was like, who's going to step up? We named all these receivers, and David Njoku jumped right in and was outstanding today.
You're keeping those receipts, by the way.
Always.
You're going to be keeping those receipts. By the way, you were the one in the summer that told us to take the Browns over their win total. That cashed last week.
I'd be right a lot, man.
You are right a lot. B-Mac, I'm going to let you be right as well here because I'm going to give you a chance here to poke some holes in the Cleveland Browns. Something you used to do. You used to lay the wood on some guys, get some picks. What are some holes here? What are some weaknesses that you see in the Cleveland Browns as we head into the postseason 2 weeks away?
I mean, that's what you want to do right now. I thought we just wanted to applaud the Cleveland Browns. You trying to twist my arm.
I thought you'd love to jump at the chance
and show my Steeler love right now on a night where we should be celebrating the Browns. I guess when you talk about holes, guys, the depth, the lack thereof, you know, they can't afford to have any more injuries happen to key positions, especially the wide receiver position. You talk about the running back position as well, you know, Ford and Hunt, but outside of those 2 guys, they're a little thin. And what we're seeing now, I think from Joe Flacco, yes, we're talking about the numbers, we're talking about the touchdowns, but another untimely interception that led to points for the New York Jets. If you go back to a week ago as well, remember that game was out of hand for the Houston Texans, but then some untimely interceptions surfaced that provided a little bit of hope for the Houston Texans. Get it? They were able to weather the storm against those 2 teams tonight and last week against the Houston Texans. But when you talk about playing against good competition in a playoff-like setting on the road, these are things you can't have surface. And once again, untimely interceptions, but because they had such a good cushion to rely on, it didn't come back to really bite them in the behind. So those are things you have to worry about. And also, too, Hakeem and Emery, you know, Joe Flacco has been the story in the NFL over the last month or so. But is this sustainable? Right? Is this sustainable for a guy like Joe Flacco? Because if it is, it would be a very entertaining playoff opportunity for the Cleveland Browns. But if it's not, then we might see a flux in production coming from their offense, especially from the quarterback position. So those are some concerns. But with the way their defense is playing, I mean, they will have a fighting shot, more than a fighting shot.
Well, we'll end on a positive note then, B-Mac. Just for you, Joe Flacco, 4 straight games with 300 yards passing. That is a Cleveland Browns record as they punch their ticket into the playoffs. 2nd playoff appearance in the last 21 seasons. Emery Hunt, Bryant McFadden here with us on CBS Sports HQ. And hey, join Joe and Emery Sundays 4 Eastern when the games go final. Come on over to CBS Sports HQ, full highlights and analysis as we take you into the playoff picture as well. We're diving into that after every game. What are the implications? We'll break it down for you here, right here on CBS Sports HQ.